This video is a full-length film study of Aidan Hutchinson, the Detroit Lions' 25-year-old defensive end. I believe he made second team All-Pro in 2025, 14 and a half sacks, 35 quarterback hits. Incredible production over the course of a quick 4-year career at this point. I've got the film separated into really two parts, I guess. Run defense initially first, 5 or 6 plays, and then pass rush stuff that I'll try to separate into the rush path or the angles that he takes. And we'll have significant discussion about his footwork, his steps, and his stance. But in any case, 5 run plays here to start Week 9 against the Vikings here. First, lined up against a tight end. He just dominates these guys. His stance looks different against tight ends when he's in this 6 or 7 technique, whatever you want to call it. The inside foot ends up kind of bowed back a little bit canted, if you will. The 6 technique, 7 technique, don't get too bothered by it if you use different terminology. 6 is normally head up, 9 is outside shade of the tight end, and 7, don't ask me to explain it, ends up being on the inside shade. But in any case, it's a run concept to him, basically strong side power, and you're going to get a gap exchange between him and Alex Anzalone. Basically, Anzalone is going to scrape over the top on the motion, and then Hutchinson absolutely wipes out this tight end. Again, he's on the inside shade. Watch how violent he is with his hands, and his eyes are in the backfield while his feet, his cleats are in the ground, and then he's able to just take this guy and toss him aside and get involved with the tackle. It's a really nice read by Anzalone, number 1. Number 2, the strong safety is rolled up there. Number 2, I think that's Thomas. A great example of what he can do against tight ends, and they're even front, 4-3, 4-2-5, whatever you want to call it. Just allows Hutchinson to line up to the tight end side in that kind of more flat stance, if you ask me. Everything about this play, I think, from a run defense standpoint, just exemplifies what you've got there in Aidan Hutchinson. Someone who's violent, great pursuit and effort, just an A-plus snap, if you ask me. These plays aren't going to be presented chronologically as far as how the season went. We've skipped forward, obviously, to Week 18, the road win against the Bears. One thing that's I've said, and others have as well, I think have echoed or in comments talked about, is the high number of snaps or reps that he's played on the field, and getting him some help on the other side, not just in terms of pass rush effectiveness, but actually getting him off the field some in 2026. DJ Wanham, Derek Moore, is that enough? Is it going to be enough? I'm not sure. So 3rd and 4 here in the second quarter. And it's a little bit of a surprising win, obviously, from the standpoint of what the Lions were able to go in there and do against the Bears. The Bears were, really close to making it to the NFC Championship game. Tells you, I think, about what Detroit could have done if, they were more healthy, especially on the defensive side all season. But 58 is going to step to Hutchinson first, all right? And it ends up just being math. 58 does a really great job, in fact, stepping to Hutchinson to possibly help out and then veering back to go pick up Rodriguez, who played actually really well in this game, if you ask me. What it does is, numerically, with the outside tight end Loveland stepping to the corner, Rock Ya-Sin, it just leaves Hutchinson one-on-one with Smythe. Smythe at this point has signed with the Ravens, a free agent contract, obviously, because Declan Doyle is our new offensive coordinator. And, I like Smythe. I like his blocking, but not in this case. He's not going to be able to win against Aidan Hutchinson. The end zone angle might not do this great justice, and what I'm talking about is the extension that Hutchinson gets. The All-22 angle actually does. I've seen it multiple times. I just tried to focus on this angle view for you guys. These guys end up like, face mask to face mask, chest to chest, however you want to describe it. Button foreheads for a moment, and then you see the lockout happen with Hutchinson. All that talk of his arm length and, how does it impact the game? I just don't see it. I don't. I mean, are there plays where other people maybe smarter than me could talk to you about it and describe how his arm length is a weakness in that particular instance? Sure. I just didn't see it that often. I watched 9 games from 2025 in preparation for this. I think he gets really great extension, especially on tight ends when he's in that 6 or that 7 technique. Another example of what I'm talking about here, again, lined up to the tight end side. In fact, there's 2 tight ends. This is a 1st and 10 in the home win against the Browns in Week 4. In a previous video that I had done, I believe on Tyleik Williams, I think I misidentified this as a Week 2 game. But in any case, they're in their base 4-3 look here. So Hutchinson has the 3 technique to him, and it's Tyleik Williams. It's the activity level of Hutchinson's hands, if you ask me. To use a combat sports analogy, he's a guy who throws and lands a lot of punches, if you ask me. Now, on this particular concept or this downhill run play, by the Browns, excuse me. I think Tyleik Williams does a great job with this double team, this combo, or this double team that's going to try to work up to Jack Campbell. In addition, Hutchinson wins his block against 44, rookie tight end, total mismatch. And then Anzalone wins his matchup against Njoku, the tight end, who really, to be honest with you, doesn't want to block or doesn't show great effort when blocking, in my opinion. It's a great example of how the pursuit and the effort that you get out of Hutchinson, number one, also the extension. It happens consistently against these tight ends. You know, maybe if he's set up as a weak side guy and he's going against longer arm tackles, these things aren't happening as easily. I don't know. Show me the film where that happens consistently. I just haven't seen it. It's a lot of fun to watch Aidan Hutchinson film. In fact, when I get to my summary thoughts at the end, I'll kind of expand on this. There are certain players in the NFL that I think so highly of, I almost feel guilty about watching their film. And Aidan Hutchinson, to be honest with you, is one of them. When he's in that 6 technique or that 7 technique, basically head up or just inside shade of a tight end, of course he's in a less attack mode. He's not crossing the line of scrimmage as quickly or as violently or rapidly trying to engage the offensive tackle or, actually the tight end if he's in a 6 or a 7. Here is a unique situation, and this is, I'm going to show you both of his game-changing plays from the Week 3 win in Baltimore. He had been quiet up to that point. We're talking about middle fourth quarter, and then he gets this forced fumble here against Derrick Henry, and then eventually a sack on the Ravens' next possession. And suddenly what was a 28-24 lead for the Lions became 38-24. And for all intents and purposes, the game was over. There's a couple things going on here pre-snap. This is a option concept read between Lamar and Derrick Henry. And it's an unbalanced offensive line. Some people call it tackle over. So you can see it here. I'll give you the end zone angle. The left guard is there, and then you have a tight end. Okay, it's Charlie Kolar, who at this point has since signed with the Chargers. It's a dual read option play. Okay, and I think this ultimately is smart for how the Lions play this. Dual read option means that the tight end / fullback and Lamar, the quarterback, are both reading the same defensive end. And so their reactions to him should be in combination. When I give you the end zone angle, I'll try to go a little bit more in depth in that. I've talked about it a ton with Ravens fans over the years, probably too much. But in any case, for Hutchinson, it's the activity level, along with the violent hands, right, the great pursuit, stamina, all of that. It's the activity level. He gets upfield, and so for Lamar and the fullback / tight end Mark Andrews, this is a give read, right? It means he's upfield, Hutchinson, so the quarterback shouldn't keep it, he should give it. And it's just a refusal to stand still on the part of Aidan Hutchinson, folding back and then getting the forced fumble on Henry. Obviously, it was not fun for me to see that as a Ravens fan, but watching it now, man, it's a Hall of Fame player here. And you have what, in my opinion, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we'll be talking about as possibly another Hall of Fame player making a play to punch the ball out, and 28-24 becomes 31-24. And then, after another game-changing play by Hutchinson, middle of the fourth quarter, it became 38-24. Same play from the end zone angle. You will get a view of all of the players on the offense, but here's just an example of what I'm talking about. Campbell and Anzalone are pointing out the unbalanced nature of the offensive line. In addition, Tyleik Williams and Reeder are doing some type of communication there. When I say unbalanced, what I mean is that the left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, who should be here, he's over on the other side. Some people call it tackle over. Some people call it unbalanced. So you've got guard, tackle to one side, and then you've got guard, tight end back to the other. They didn't have to report anyone as eligible because, in fact, Kolar is still eligible. But in any case, it's a dual read option, and Kolar does a horrible job, okay, of blocking, to be honest with you. But a couple of things happen. There's a bonus player for the Lions into the boundary. He's just off screen, but you'll see him coming to the screen in a moment. It's DJ Reed. And he jukes Charlie Kolar on the attempted block. But here's the dual read that I'm talking about. Hutchinson is the read, okay? If Hutchinson were to go upfield, which is what he's doing, then it's a give read, and Andrews should go on this path. And his assignment, Andrews, to block is the frontside inside linebacker. I say frontside because it's a designed cutback by Henry. If Hutchinson were to violently veer down the line of scrimmage, then Andrews would go on this green path, and he would still go to block the frontside inside linebacker. Okay, Kolar is responsible for the corner. So in any case, the tight end / fullback, Andrews, is a tight end, but he's lined up at fullback in the backfield. He's going to block the front side inside linebacker, whether it's a give or a keep. The only determination, the dual read, is whether he's going to go underneath of Hutchinson or whether he's going to loop around and basically lead the way for the quarterback. Hopefully I explained that in a way that makes sense, in a way that was succinct for you guys. This is just a great play, man. Like, yes, it's against my favorite team, and, it made the Ravens 1-2 at that point. But look, man, you have to respect when great players make great plays against Hall of Fame guys like that. Like I said, the Lions had taken a 28-21 lead in the third, fourth quarter. Then the Ravens forced them to punt, got the ball back, and made it a 28-24 game, a field goal. Got the ball back a second time, and then Hutchinson here gets the offense the ball again. I think there's like 8:30 left here, forces the fumble. It's an amazing play at just the right time. They go up 31-24, 38-24. I will actually show you his play on the ensuing Ravens possession a little bit later in the video in the pass rush section. This will be the last run concept here that I show you. It's from the Week 18 win against the Bears once again. I think he's great at understanding his positioning on the field and how many players he has to his side to support. And what I mean is Rock Ya-Sin, the corner, and the safety are both located down here into the boundary, and it's going to be a run concept away from them. 12 personnel grouping, broken bunch, one of my favorite formations. I did a lot of videos on it in 2024 when Ben Johnson was still in Detroit, but it could be boot back to him. It could be boot back to Hutchinson. Look, at the NFL level, some of these defensive ends, some would say, they guess. And in many cases, they guess right. I think they've got little tells. Caleb Williams is trying to make this look the same right now to Aidan Hutchinson. He's trying to, have his body between the football and Aidan Hutchinson, so Aidan Hutchinson can't see it. He's got to slow play it. For whatever reason, Hutchinson is just gone. He's just folding down the line. He's got the athleticism to make this play. It's a 3-yard gain. Conceptually very similar to the option, right? You're not being blocked, and so you've got three choices. Choice 1, run down the line of scrimmage. Choice 2, go upfield for the quarterback boot. That's what a lot of guys do who are chasing sacks. Or you could slow play it, right? You could stay square, slow play it. That's not what Hutchinson does. He's gone. He's down the line of scrimmage. Keeps Swift to a 3-yard gain. Like I said, some of the defensive ends in the NFL, they're just they know what they're doing. They know what they're looking at, and maybe they've got a tell or a call in to do one or the other from one snap to the other. Hutchinson, to me, this is the last run play I'll show you. He's just a guy that you can't avoid. Maybe to you or other, you guys listening, 43 sacks, 8 forced fumbles, 4 last season, by the way, 5 career interceptions, 100 quarterback hits in 4 years. Maybe that's not enough. Going to do pass rush stuff here the rest of the way out. This is a significantly long video. First of all, because the film is so much fun to watch. Second of all, it's very difficult to cut out plays. Usually my process, go grab 45, 50, maybe 60 plays of a player, meaning I've just screen recorded them, and then cut them in half, if not more so, to try to get to my final decision. How many plays do I want to show? Usually I want to show between 8 and 10. In this case, I think we're at 17. And it's because so much of it was just badass. I've organized the pass rush. First, we're going to be outside rushes versus right tackles. Okay, and then we'll get to inside moves, spin moves, and stuff like that. So you're going to be surprised at how often they're not chipping him at all, basically not giving the tackle help. And I think Hutchinson has, I think he understands when that's going to happen, and he understands how to set up his move. So in this case, the tight end set to the left, Cole Kmet, is going to help out with Muhammad. In addition, the running back is going to release into the flat. So it's just a one-on-one with the right tackle here, set up into the boundary. Sometimes the chips are by personnel, all right? But sometimes it's just by personnel, meaning, okay, it's Myles Garrett, or it's Aidan Hutchinson, or TJ Watt. But sometimes it's just by formation and boundary, to be honest with you. I think this 4-point stance is the best thing that Hutchinson has committed to, in my opinion. His foot replaces his hand, if not gains even more ground from a 4-point stance than it ever did from a 3-point or a 2-point stance. So you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here. his first step with his right foot, replacing his right hand. So his right, when I move the film, that line's going to go away, but try to keep your eye, where that's located. His right foot gets past where his right hand was lined up. He's not just replacing it, he's doing what we call gaining ground, number one. Number two, he's really good, I think, at making all of his moves look the same for about 2.5 steps. Here, his third step, his right foot, the second time that he stepped with his right foot, has stepped to the middle of the right tackle's body. And so what that does is it gets the tackle to lean out because he thinks there's going to be some type of bull rush or some type of heavy, square on the center of his body type move. Instead, Hutchinson kind of just shrugs him off and throws him to the side, finishes off with a sack. He's really good, if you ask me, at making all of his moves look the same for a while. Now, there's a little bit of a tell for some of his inside spin stuff, at least, in the film that I've watched. I love the fact that he committed to a 4-point stance this year. I did videos on him in week 4 and week 5. You're more than welcome to go back and check those out. I'll link them up here, while this video premieres, and then in the description as well, so you can check it out. Because I did take note of it early in the 2025 season. I thought he dominated stretches of this game against the Bears. Again, I went back and watched 9 full games, not the entire game, just the defense. 1 sack, I think 2 quarterback hits. He was a real problem in the run games for the tight ends. Obviously, I've shown you some of that already. Again, we're focusing on pass rush here from the left-hand side of the defense against right tackles. I think this past year, 14.5 sacks. Like I said, and 35 quarterback hits, just massive production. But I feel like he gets better as the season progresses. In any case, this was early in the year. It's a 4-3 with the Sam linebacker, Barnes set up to the field. Hutchinson into the boundary, kind of widened up. He really tormented the Browns. I think he almost had 3 sacks in this one. And again, they're motioning the running back away from him, and then leaving the right tackle, like I said, one-on-one. This is a second quarter play, and you see this pattern often with the Browns, to be honest with you. It's a slick little move from him. Check out his third step, a little bit more to the outside, and he'll disappear from the right tackle. So he's replaced the hand once again. In fact, done a pretty good job of gaining ground, meaning his right foot hasn't just replaced the hand, it's actually kind of extended or exceeded it. Hopefully explain that in a way that makes sense. And then the third step is more upfield here, and he's using it to kind of disappear from this right tackle. It's really an athletic mismatch that, hey, credit to Aidan Hutchinson for taking advantage of it, but really the guy who I think should be blamed here is Stefanski. And this is something that happened often. I can tell you this as a Ravens fan, that the guy was just hard-hitted and didn't help out his players at all. This is not a matchup that you want against Aidan Hutchinson. One-on-one, you don't want that in an obvious passing situation. This is second quarter, I think late second quarter. And, you would expect Hutchinson to win this, right? Especially as good as his technique was in 2025. I think he's always been good at making 2 or 3 or 4 moves look the same. In my opinion, 2025, he might have extended those moves to look the same even longer. Think like a Major League Baseball pitcher. They want their slider, their 2-seam sinker, 4-seam fastball, changeup, whatever, to all look the same as long as possible. And that analogy, probably breaks down a little bit. But Hutchinson is, to move forward a little bit further with it, Hutchinson is a guy, if you ask me, with 3 or 4 really good pitches and then one that's just special. Of course, that's his spin move. I'm going to hammer this point home a little bit about that Browns game. With Stefanski, no adjustment to help the players at all. Again, some of it is by formation and call, right? You do have Nowaski on the field over here and Hutchinson over here. So you tell me who you think you would like to help out, which tackle you would like to help out. But in any case, it's 2nd and 10. We're into the 4th quarter. He ends up with another one-on-one. The running back crosses in front of Flacco, and this really costs the Browns. Like I said, the game's pretty much over at this point. It's 27-10. Nowaski gets a scoop and score that doesn't count. It ends up being called back. St. Brown scores a couple plays later. But look how easy this win is for Hutchinson. You cannot leave great players this type of opportunity. A little bit of a disappearing move, if you ask me, from the standpoint of what he's doing with his hands. Third step is a little bit more upfield. He's on his third step right now, by the way. Flashes the hands and then rips them back under. Strong enough to be able to rip under that guy. Do I think there's some times where he plays maybe a little bit higher than you would want? Maybe. It looks like it, but he plays through the contact well, and it works. It's a forced fumble here. Nowaski's the guy that recovers it. I guess he's touched. This one is a little similar to the last one that I showed you, but it's more of a speed rush type move, a technical move, if you ask will. The inside foot a little bit more upfield. Like I said, Nowaski recovers the fumble that he's forced. This is the game where Hutchinson could have had 3 sacks. I kind of misspoke earlier. He just makes game-changing plays. A couple of them, 3 of them, in fact, were against AFC North opponents in the Ravens and the Browns. A different style or flavor to this one, even though he is still rushing off the left side against the right tackle. Week 17 loss to the Vikings on the road. That's a 3rd and long. Now, this is their 3-3 look, first of all. It's a 3-man rush, in fact, all right? Barnes is threatening like he could rush, but they've got Barnes, Campbell, and Anzalone on the field. That's what I mean when I say 3-3. 3 guys rushing the passer, 3 down linemen, and then 3 inside linebackers on the field. There's no chip here at all. The tight end kind of makes it look like he's going to chip Hutchinson. What I like about the first step and a half of this is that Hutchinson doesn't care. So he's just going to play through the contact of the tight end. And this is the second time where I'll kind of talk about how much ground he's gaining. And oftentimes these guys, when they're faced with a tight end to possibly chip them, they know, okay, I should get chipped here, all right? This is great pursuit and great effort. I should get chipped here. I've got the tight end to my side. He could certainly help out the right tackle. And in fact, he probably should. Watch how much ground he gains. There's his right hand, his inside hand. Watch how much ground he gains with his first step. He's not short stepping this because he's thinking about getting chipped. He's attacking. And I think the 4-point stance is a part of that. For his body composition, 6'7", 270, 275, great length. I know the whole arm length discussion still out there, apparently. I actually got an email from a Lions fan that was kind of shocking, criticizing Hutchinson as a short arm guy. It was pretty funny. I didn't respond to it. I certainly won't name the person, but it was way out of left field. Because when I watch the film of a guy, look, he's taking a shot to the face mask here, right? First of all. So the tackle and him are making contact with each other. Watch his helmet, face mask kind of bow back, and then he just keeps playing through the contact. This is a special football talent, if you ask me, at 6'7", 270, 275. Play strength, pursuit, effort, off the charts. I think he's got an exceptional range of impact. I would love to do a hit chart on his tackles, meaning like the distance traveled. The tackle here is made, in this area. He lined up over here. In Once Sports, it actually does allow me to do distance tracking, but I just didn't do it for this play. This will be the last one where we talk about him rushing off the left side of the defense against the right tackle. The last one where nobody touches him, okay? And there's also something to be said here about other guys on the interior getting pressure and how that could play with, Aidan Hutchinson's ability, his talent. But in any case, you do have 2 players on the side who could chip him, who could deal with him. This is, of course, the first matchup against the Vikings in Detroit. So the tight end and the running back are on his side. This is a little bit more bull rush, but the quarterback kind of drifts some because McNeil wins to the inside with a really violent club. I'm talking about right here against the right guard. Inside club by McNeil. I think 2026 is huge for McNeil to be an impact player for the Lions and help Hutchinson and Wanham, Derek Moore, other guys who are hopefully going to get after the quarterback some. I think I've said this in the Tyleek Williams video. I'm a big fan of DJ Reader, and I've said that for years. I know that some Lions fans, were disappointed with the production. He's never been a pass rush guy. And for me, for him to have been on the field in some of the situations where it was an obvious pass play, that to me didn't reflect well on the depth that the Lions had. But in any case, Hutchinson is a guy that rushing off of the left side of the defense, I do feel like his steps look better, a little bit more ground gained with that first step, that inside foot, that right foot. Another point I'd like to say about him is the number of snaps that he's playing in each game. I think I'd like to see about 6 or 8 less plays on the field for him each week if possible. And that's related to that D-line depth, in my opinion. I'd like to see him in the 50 to 55 range. Here's some of the snap output. Of course, it's related to the quality of defense that's played, right? Whether or not the defense is playing well, getting people off the field. Here's some of his snap counts for 2025. 63, 61, 61, 61, 63. Twice he played 77 snaps. And I think once he played 71. In weeks 17 and 18 against the Vikings and the Bears, he played 52 and 43 snaps. I think somewhere around that number is right for me. But this is the other game-changing play made in the fourth quarter, by the way, against the Ravens. This is after he forced the fumble on Derrick Henry. And then the Lions get the field goal to go up 31-24. It's a first play of this series, of this possession for the Ravens. And I really can't draw this route up well with the Once Sports program. When you try to draw routes, it's really an out and up. He really kind of takes this route. Flowers really kind of takes this route like out and then up and then actually snaps it back. And I will pause it in a little bit to show you that. But first opportunity here to talk about inside moves and how quick and precise Hutchinson's feet are. I think the route they're trying to get it to is Walker at the bottom of the screen. And so going to zoom in on Hutchinson against Ronnie Stanley. I think Stanley actually gets called for a hold here. Really quick feet, if you ask me, by Hutchinson and being able to play through all of this mess. The Ravens are sliding the offensive line to him. I will give you the end zone angle here in a moment. I think Baltimore's fortunate about right now. You can't see it, but you will from the end zone angle in a moment. This is where Lamar is looking as option one, Flowers, and he's not open right now, but when he snaps the route down, he does kind of come open. If Lamar kind of throws the ball now, theoretically, Flowers could come back to the football. This is option number two, Walker running the over concept across the field. Anzalone has flashed in front of Lamar's face, and I think that's what causes him to tuck the football. And again, I think it's really fortunate for Baltimore that he does, because if he doesn't, Hutchinson is literally right there to possibly force a second fumble in a row. I'll give you the end zone angle of the same play, 2 snaps in a row. Early season matchup of teams that, talked about possibly making the Super Bowl, and Hutchinson makes game-changing plays on consecutive snaps. They're separated by about 2 minutes. The forced fumble on Henry, I think, was 8:30 left in the fourth quarter. At the time this is snapped, it's 6:35 left. All right, like I said, the Ravens are going to slide to him in this case. The tight end here, Kolar, is going to step down and then help out on the inside. I think 72 is supposed to help out in this B gap. Okay, I think he's supposed to help out with potentially this inside move by Hutchinson. I almost think this is a reaction from Hutchinson. I'm talking about, watch the ground that he still gains with his inside step, So again, once I move the screen, go frame forward, there is, where his hand is. Watch where his foot replaces. His toes actually get in front of his hands. I think he's still trying to gain ground and then quickly adjusts. A part of me wants to say this is a reaction for Hutchinson to seeing Ronnie Stanley. What in Hutchinson's mind, when he sees this, he thinks, okay, he's jumping me. Really, it's kind of like a play-action look as far as the offensive line, but there's no mesh between Lamar and Derrick Henry. It almost ends up looking like a concept called dash, where the running back goes to the field and reads this block and reacts to it. In this case, Hutchinson plays through that gap, and you can see what's happening here. If Anzalone weren't here, okay, if he was back a little bit further, Lamar's looking at the matchup up top between Flowers and Reed, right? I talked about it from the All-22 angle. If Anzalone's not there, if he's 5 yards deeper, Lamar might hold on to this ball for a moment, and then Hutchinson have an opportunity for a strip sack. He's just a force of nature, man. When you watch that many games of a player, and I already had a high opinion of Hutchinson, it's even higher now after watching actually one of the games was from 2024, to be honest with you. But he had great impact here in the fourth quarter on consecutive snaps. Like I said, they were separated by 2 minutes and really changed the tone and the tenor of the game because, it's 31-24 right now. They forced the Ravens to punt on 3 plays, 3 and out, and then go down and take a 38-24 lead. This one's from the second matchup against the Vikings. Again, a loss. I don't know the down and distance, to be honest with you. I just had the end zone angle say. This is going to be a one-on-one between him and the left tackle. I think you get a good eye, or a good viewpoint, I should say, of him trying to make these rushes look upfield, especially from a wider alignment, and then bring the rush back inside. So you got two tight ends on the right-hand side. The outside tight end's going to run an inside sit-down route on the other hash, and he's going to catch the ball. The inside tight end, 84, is going to chip and then release. The running back is kind of slow playing it a little bit, and they're leaving Hutchinson one-on-one with Justin School. Look, there's a ton of tackles in this video, right? Some of them starters, some of them backups. The reality is Hutchinson had sacks in 12 of 17 games played. In addition, he had quarterback hits in every game played but 2. Here's some of his quarterback hit output. I'm not talking about pressures, because I know pressures are, in the eye of the beholder, I guess. It depends on who's talking about it. Quarterback hits are verified, right? You're hitting the quarterback, I guess, within a step and a half of him throwing the football. He had games of 4 quarterback hits, 5. He had one game of 6, and I think 3 times had games with 3 quarterback hits. This was one of them. He had a whale of a season, in my opinion. Again, I think he's really good at trying to make these slight movements with his feet. You can see the outside step, and then it's the 4th step, which would be, his second time stepping with the right foot. There's the 2nd step. The 3rd step is again with the left foot, and then the 4th one is what allows him to kind of pressure cut, if you want to use running back terminology. Put his foot in the ground, and then jump back to the inside, play through the contact, get a quarterback hit. It's a little bit of a short sell, maybe, on that 4th step, but the tackle is already knowing, okay, I'm one-on-one. I have no help to the top side, no help to the outside here. I've got to be somewhat cognizant of that. And as such, Hutchinson able to win to the outside. It works for him. I think 2025, he had a great array of moves. For me, I use a little bit of a basketball analogy. In terms of his pass rush stuff, Hutchinson reminds me of a guy who can get to his spot and make the play. And he can, if you leave him open at his spot, he's going to hit it 95% of the time. He can still make plays with contact, draw fouls, and even finish. In terms of the pass rushers that I get to see, consistently, the teams I watch film of intentionally, Baltimore, Detroit, and the Seattle Seahawks, he's the best guy that I get to lay eyes on. The only other player that I get to watch a ton of from a defensive line standpoint would be Leonard Williams, and as far as like putting consistent pressure on the offensive line and impacting the game in a balanced manner, meaning against the run and against the pass. He's like, to combine teams or players from those 3 teams, it's like he has the career pass rush output of guys like Trey Hendrickson, but also the run stopping ability of DeMarcus Lawrence, who just plays with an insane amount of violence. And on top of all that, Hutchinson's 25 years old. All right, this is going to be the first of, I think, 3 or perhaps 4 spin moves. There's a couple of different ones here. He is left one-on-one with the tackle. Talked about this in a separate video that I did about a week and a half ago on his spin moves. And in this case, the running back is being covered by Rodriguez. The same stutter, 4 steps, and then spin is going to show up multiple times for Hutchinson. So it's when he gets to the 2nd step with his right foot. This is his 4th step. Then spin to the outside. It's not a sack, obviously. The ball's out quick from Caleb Williams. It's a completion over there to Colston Loveland. I love that he's doing this out of a 4-point stance. I'll show you some older film, I think from 24 or 23 here in a moment, of him in a 3-point stance. And it kind of made things, I don't want to say predictable, but you could kind of see it coming if you ask me. I think his stance, his pre-snap operation, getting in the stance, staying in the stance, is way better than we saw in 23 and even parts of 24, because he gains so much ground, whether he's on the right side or the left side of the defense. I'm limiting my analysis, or what I'm talking about right now, about to pass rush opportunities. I think the spin move is his best move. It's used less often for obvious reasons. This is one where they set it up in 2025, the Week 17 loss against Minnesota. It's 3rd and long once again. And everything here is coordinated very well, if you ask me. So you've got a 3-man rush. Barnes is the second part of the 3-3. He's the 3rd inside linebacker on the field, but he's a hybrid, right? The 3 pass rushers is Muhammad, I think McNeil, and Hutchinson. They have intentionally or specifically set it up to where Hutchinson is isolated on the right guard. How? Well, McNeil's going to occupy the center. Campbell is a potential blitzer, but he's also covering the running back. Muhammad is off on the right side, and then Barnes is blitzing off the edge. So he's going to be occupied by the right tackle and potentially the tight end in a chip. And this is just a violent, quick, abrupt spin move. Again, I don't know if he played basketball in high school. I have no idea. I know he went to high school with, Michigan, west side of Michigan, something like that. I think Dearborn maybe, but clean, unbelievably quick and sharp, precise spin move that, for a basketball analogy, it looks like a guy doing a spin move off of one step and just dunking. It's just clean, abrupt, and quick, and such a huge win. We got to give credit to the defensive staff for creating the opportunity, identifying the matchup that they knew would be there. I have no idea how many times they did this throughout the course of the season. I'd like to see it more, but I will say this. The depth at outside linebacker, D-end, edge rusher, in previous years kind of made it to where you couldn't do this that often. You couldn't move him around as much. Muhammad had a great season. They trusted Barnes a lot, obviously. Losing Anzalone for 26 and beyond is going to make the equation different as far as trying to solve, who's on the field on those 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, or 3rd and long situations. This is probably my favorite version of one of my 2 favorite versions of his spin move. 2023 film, I believe. He's going to be one-on-one with the right tackle. The 3 technique, wide 3 technique, Kaminsky. He's angled, so you can still get away with calling him a 3 technique. But both of these guys, the right guard and right tackle, have their eyes on him. I think it's 23 film. He's still got Melifonwu on the field here. But in any case, this is his kind of flash version of it, where he'll flash the inside hand. Now, he's got the wrong hand down here, to be honest with you. And I think that's because he's setting up his spin move. When I say wrong hand, usually you have your inside hand down as a defensive tack or defensive lineman, And when you're in a 4-point stance, you obviously have both hands down. But sometimes more weight is on your inside hand. In any case, it's to set up a differential timing with his steps. With the outside foot back, that means that's going to be his first step. So 1, 2, and then the 3rd step is when he's flashing. The 4th step is going to be with the right foot, and that's when he's going to spin. So he does the spin the same way from either side sometimes in earlier film before 2025. And I think it's I think it's to mask the ability to use the spin move a little bit longer. Basically, now there's also a level of obfuscation that Detroit might have been trying to bring here. With Kaminsky lined up so wide, it kind of draws the eye or focus pre-snap of the tackle. So the tackle might not have even had awareness that Hutchinson had the wrong hand down, if you will. But it's a little bit of a pre-snap indicator, if you ask me, that it could be the spin move. It's really clean and precise. That flash kind of gets the tackle's attention, but really what it does is it gets Hutchinson's body in position to be able to spin so quickly. I love that play. Look, has there been offensive tackles handle it? Sure, right? There's been some losses on that move, but it's an elite move that every offensive tackle he faces, will be aware of, if you will. Same spin move, except now he's on the right-hand side of the defense. He's got the inside hand down now and the inside foot back, but it's the same hand and foot. It's in the same position as the play I just showed you. Right? He was on the other side of the defense, so technically it was his outside hand. But it's the same footwork, if you will. The running back inserting into the B-gap. And again, I covered this in a video I put out about 8 or 9 days ago, but it's a chop to spin here. Same footwork numerically. Spins on the 4th step, but there's a chop involved with it. I used to think that he kind of was reading this on the fly, and now I think it's predetermined, to be honest with you, looking at the older film. The reason why I like the 4-point stance for him is because I feel like when he lines up on the left side of the defense against the right tackle, if he wants to get to that spin move like a half a step quicker, he doesn't have to put the wrong hand down and kind of show it, if you will. He can basically give the same presentation, again, the Major League Baseball pitcher analogy, on every time that he's going to do the spin move. I got 2 more plays here. It's been a lot of fun to watch film of him. And I'll give you some summary thoughts here in a moment. If you stuck around this long, thank you, obviously, a whole lot. The last 2 plays here, the last category, I guess, is just to show his effort, his insane effort, if you will, at times, his ability to play through contact, and just refusal to not get to the football. I really don't like this play call at all for the Packers in this situation. They're up 17-6. It's a 2nd and 6, and I feel like they've designed this to kind of go up top to the receiver, up to the top side. I think it's the rookie, but in any case, it's a chip on Hutchinson up top by the tight end, and then he'll play through the contact. In addition, I think it's O'Connor down here on the bottom side is actually getting to the quarterback as well. A little bit of contact into the face mask possibly by him. Hutchinson, like I said, chipped off the line, and then now this is a little bit of freelance. You're just trying to figure out a way to get by this guy after you've been chipped and your rhythm has been disrupted. Downfield concept as far as what the Packers are looking for, and this is a chance for the Lions to change the game. O'Connor got there first. He wasn't chipped. Hutchinson, the closing speed is badass, and I think there's hands to his face on this. I don't have the end zone angle of it, but a violent ass hit on Jordan Love, and then a chance for Anzalone. This is a potential like pick six kind of play. His body positioning, Anzalone, is away from the end zone where he would go if he catches the ball, obviously, but you're talking about one player to beat the tight end who you were just covering a moment ago. And Hutchinson made that play. Extremely violent, potential, game-changing at that point. Really poor decision by the quarterback, obviously, to try to throw the football when there's pressure oncoming. I think an even worse call by the offensive coordinator, in my opinion, knowing that, Kirby Joseph back there, one high safety look. You're probably going to be talking about, man-free, something where he's in the middle of the field to potentially take away that vertical route. Last play that I'll show you to try to just touch on the same theme. And in fact, I guess it technically might go down as a missed tackle. He falls down while being blocked, but it's just a great effort to be Week 18, not making the playoffs, division opponent, rival, obviously, in the Chicago Bears. The kind of effort that you see out of Aidan Hutchinson is non-negotiable. It doesn't matter whether it's the 5th play, the 55th play, or the 75th play. I really like this play, this concept, by the Bears. It's a nice little adaptation. Loveland's making it look like an over route off of play action, and then he's going to snap it back to the left-hand side of our screen, kind of cross Jack Campbell up a little bit. Rodriguez plays this really well, if you ask me. I'm talking about 44 right here with his reaction to the run and then turning and running, and basically he's looking for the over concept. He's looking for the route from 84, which right now looks like it's going to flow in that direction. That's typical. Williams is setting up, and then Loveland brings the route back. Hutchinson trying to play through the contact of the tight end. There's actually 2 tight ends there. A lot of contact between those 2 guys. High effort from Hutchinson. Again, no matter what week it is, what part of the game it is, how many snaps he's played. He kind of reminds me of, I don't know about you, the first time that maybe you've seen an elite player in high school, a particular player that maybe you've heard about, and you show up, and whether it's baseball, football, basketball, whatever, those guys, maybe they act kind of cool in pregame because they've played against a higher level of competition and they know what they're going to be able to do or execute during the game. There is no cool in Aidan Hutchinson. He is all business. There's no bullshit, and you can really get an idea of that from the film. The way that this plays out at the end is really cool because of the identification of Rodriguez looking for that route. He's literally looking for it now. What ends up happening is this inversion between him and Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin ends up pressuring the quarterback, Williams, and then Rodriguez makes the tackle when Caleb Williams improvises and makes the completion out in the flats. Just a really great play overall, if you ask me, talking about Hutchinson, Rock Ya-Sin, Rodriguez. I'm going to give you some of my summary thoughts here at the end. First of all, this video obviously went on really long. I've rarely, if ever, done videos on a player of this length, and that should tell you something. He's an elite player to me. I hope that my opinion is clear by the proven fact that I watch Ravens, Lions, and Seahawks film intentionally every week during the regular season, and obviously I get a chance to see their opponents, right? I watch the games live, but I don't watch as much live football as other people do because I'm intentionally focusing on those 3 teams. However, I also intentionally carve out time to watch the All-22 and End Zone Angle film and then cut it up, and then run it through Once Sports Editor, which is an amazing piece of software, but it adds to my workflow. But I think there's some benefits to that. What it means is I get to see the plays again. I get to see them more than just screen recording, more than just editing, and then more than just presentation. Basically, there's 3 layers to the workflow. I think Hutchinson is about as fantastic a football player as I get to watch film of. His production through 4 years is amazing. I think lines up with that analysis. He did miss, I think, 8 or 9 games in 2024, and then the playoffs, the loss to the Commanders. He was clearly on his way to another 14 or 15 sack season or more. At that point, I think Detroit's got just an elite talent and a hard worker here. I just can't imagine that, the effort, the tenacity, the number of snaps we see him play on Sundays. I cannot imagine that's not accompanied by similar work ethic on the practice field, in the weight room, in the meeting rooms. Again, he's one of the players I enjoy watching film of the most for a lot of reasons. And when I say that, let me be clear. Lamar Jackson, Jahmyr Gibbs, St. Brown, Derrick Henry, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Aidan Hutchinson. Those are the guys that, for me, I almost feel guilty watching their film because it's so much fun. There's so much, for Hutchinson, impeccable footwork, very good hand placement. I think improved technique in 2025 with the 4-point stance and the explosion out of it. Overwhelming effort, tenacity, great size, right? 6'7", 270, 275. The arm length stuff, I don't know, tell me where it shows up and I'll go take a look at it. I didn't see it in the 9 games that I watched here. It took about 2 weeks to chop away at this one while I was working on other projects, obviously. It wasn't 2 weeks of continuous work at all. I'm finally done. I wish I had got this out over the weekend. Saturday morning or perhaps Sunday night is my goal. It's very difficult. I wanted to do diligence, or let me rephrase that. I wanted to show respect to what I believe is a special talent at 25 years old. The production, the collection of high-level plays, I think is very rare to witness. I feel justified and confident in phrasing it that way because of the amount of film that I watch intentionally of 3 pretty good football organizations, the Ravens, Lions, and the Seahawks. Are there other guys better than him, at rushing the quarterback? Myles Garrett, okay, TJ Watt, cumulatively over the course of their career. Will Anderson, maybe, okay, fine. But, are there other DNs better at stopping the run and being a real deterrent out there on the edge for run concepts at them or even away from them? All right, maybe there are. But from a balance standpoint, I think he's as good as it gets across the NFL at being high-level run defender, high-level elite against the pass, trying to get to the quarterback. That combination, I think, is exceedingly rare, and I wanted to call your attention to it. Well, as a Lions fan, you already knew, right? But I wanted to maybe show you some of the finer details that I notice and give you some perspective and do the visuals at the same time, because that's important for me to align my commentary with the film that you're seeing. I struggle to be direct. I struggle to create content that doesn't include the film. It's just how I was trained to look at the game as a coach. And in this case, for Aidan Hutchinson, there was so much great film. I couldn't have cut out more plays than I did. The finished product ended at 18 plays from 60 or 62 and then 28 or something like that. And I thought, how am I going to cut this down? I'm thankful that it's the off season, because certainly I wouldn't do something like this during the regular season. Probably try to keep plays in the 5 to 7 range overall, which usually leads to about 10 to 12 minute videos. If you guys checked it out this far, thank you very much. Let me know what you think in the comment section if you haven't done so already. If you are not aware, comments in the live stream premiere or the original video premiere do not necessarily help videos be pushed out to a larger audience as far as engagement goes. So if you'd like to see this shared to a larger audience, there's a lot of things you can do to be that link, if you will. Grab a link to this video and go share it somewhere out on social media if you'd like other Lions fans to check it out and maybe give their own thoughts or opinions on it. Or you could go down in the comments section once the video finishes and actually give a comment that helps the video get pushed out to a larger audience. I think kind of influences YouTube to do so. In any case, thank you guys for checking this one out. Please let me know what you think in the comment section.